going on, everyone, and welcome to Yota Xpedition. Right here on our 5th Gen 4Runner, we just installed the rear Molle panels and the cargo shelves from CaliRaised LED. So this is really nice when it comes to organizing the 4Runner the way you want to accommodate the things that you are trying to do. There's plenty of room back here for Molle bags and accessories. You have the 2 cargo shelves that you can fill up with a bunch of different things. You can put Molle bags underneath those shelves as well. But let's go ahead inside and show you how to get these things installed. So the first thing we're going to start with is the side panels from CaliRaised. There's a couple things in the 4Runner we have to take out before we install these. So let's go ahead and do that. It's pretty simple. You're going to need a Phillips head, a flathead, and a 10mm socket with a ratchet. So right here, you're going to find a little hook. You can just turn this clockwise and pull it straight out. And then you're going to find a Phillips head screw behind that. We'll go ahead and take that out. Next up, you're going to find right here we have a little plastic cover. We're going to take that flathead, we're going to pop that out, and then behind that you're going to find another 10mm bolt. Go ahead and take that out as well. And then up here on this hook, we're just going to squeeze that, pull it down, and you're going to find a 10mm bolt in there. Go ahead and take that out. Now just go ahead and take out those same exact pieces on the other side of the 4Runner. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we can start installing the side panels from CaliRaised. Now we can take a closer look at the side panels. There's a couple of things that we need to assemble onto these first before we go and put them into the 4Runner. So obviously you have your main panel that's going to be going on either side of the back. This is going to be covering up the window. So this is your top. We're going to be taking these side pieces here and we're going to be bolting those onto the back prior to putting these into the 4Runner. So we're going to go ahead, open up the bag of hardware. We'll get these bolted on, and then we'll get these into the 4Runner. So we got all the hardware out. Everything is pretty much already pre-threaded, which is really nice. So when it comes to assembling this, it's going to make it a lot easier. We're going to grab 2 bolts, and we're going to grab 2 washers, and we're going to start by putting these onto here. So this is going to go underneath the main window panel, and then, like I said, it's pre-threaded already, so we can go ahead and just start the threads on that. Go ahead and get the other side on there. You can take notice of the orientation. It's pointing down towards this section of the window panel. I actually took notice there's a little bottle opener on here. Nice little touch. You're going to need to grab yourself a 4mm Allen wrench, and these ones here we can tighten up. Next up, we're going to be mounting the top bracket to our side Molle panels, but because we are going to be installing the upper shelf, we're going to be installing the brackets for those at the same exact time because they go through the same mounting holes. In the hardware bag for your upper tray, we're going to be taking 2 of the longer bolts out. We're going to need those to install the brackets. So you're going to be mounting your upper bracket onto the window panel like so. And then we are going to be mounting the bracket on top. And then we're going to take those longer bolts from the tray hardware bag and we're going to be putting those through here. Now take note, when you mount these on, you can see this section here is longer than this section. The longer section is going to be pointing towards the front of the 4Runner. So I'm going to dig out 2 of the longer bolts. You can see they're not that much longer, but there is a little bit of a difference. Find another one of those, 2 washers, and we can get that screwed on. All right. So I have those started. I'm not going to tighten them down. I'm going to leave everything kind of loose so I can move it around until we get it in the 4Runner and we have all of the mounting points bolted in. Then we can go back and tighten everything down. At this point, we're ready to get these installed into the 4Runner, so I'm going to grab the 4 big spacers and the 4 long bolts that come with it, and we'll get these installed. All right, we have our 2 spacers and 2 screws for this side. We're going to start with the top one, which we are going to be using the OEM bolt that we took out for that hook. So we're going to hold this thing up. We're going to get that one started first, and then we can get the other ones with the spacers installed. Now we'll take a spacer. We're going to put the spacer inside there, like so. Take one of our long bolts, slide that in, and we'll get this started. Don't tighten this down, we're just going to lightly snug it in place. Did the same thing for this spot back here. So we got both of those started and the top one. To ensure that both sides are going to be exactly the same, I'm just going to push this as far forward as I can when I tighten this up and when I do the other side. That way when we go to lay in the tray, everything's going to be nice and square and everything should line up. I'll go ahead and just do the same thing here on the passenger side. So at this point, if all you were doing was the side Molle panels, you're finished at this point, but we are doing the upper shelf and the lower shelf as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab the upper shelf and we'll start putting that together. All right, so right here we have the upper tray. It's in multiple pieces right now. We're going to loosely fit everything together and then put it into the 4Runner. So we have our 2 main bottom pieces. We have the center piece here, which is gonna tie those 2 together. We have our back plates, which is kind of just to make sure that nothing's going to be falling off of the tray. And then we have our bag of hardware. So let's go ahead and start putting this together. So the first thing we're going to do is take one of our sides and we're going to put that with the center section. We're going to get that lined up and we're going to get some of the bolts started in that. So we're only going to be attaching one side to the center section. This other side here we're going to leave as it is. That way when we go to put them in the vehicle, we can mesh them together. If we put them together right now, it would be a pain to get it all in there. But we can go ahead now and take the back panels. We're going to attach this one on here. We're going to get this one attached to this side, and then we can start putting them into the 4Runner. And I'm going to take this back plate here. I'm going to put it just on one side as well. So we have everything pre-assembled on these. Now we can go ahead and start hanging them in the 4Runner. I'm going to start with the one that we didn't put any of the additional brackets on. We're going to get this one started, then we'll bring this one in, put them together, and then we'll get those bolts started there in the center. So as you can see, it's got these hooks on here, and those are going to be hooking right underneath that bracket that we put on earlier. Once we get that hooked up in place, we're going to get a couple of those screws started to kind of hold this while we get the other side started. So go ahead and hook it in like that, bring it up, and then from the bottom, we'll get a couple screws started. We have those lightly snug, just holding that in place. Now we can go ahead and take the other side, do the same thing, hook that in, we'll bring this up, and now we can get both pieces mounted together. Now we can get the rest of these started and we'll get the rack as straight as possible. I'm just gonna push up on the rack in the center and then we can tighten down these bolts here. Last step, go ahead and tighten up the front, tighten up anything else that you have yet to tighten, and then we'll be finished with the upper shelf. All right, upper tray is finished. Now we're gonna go ahead and install the lower tray. For the most part, it's gonna be pretty much the same. We have 2 sides and then we have our center section, which is gonna be tying everything together. Because this is lower, you can put bigger items on it, heavier items, and the gauge that this is made of is a lot thicker than the upper shelf. So this is gonna hold a lot heavier of items. We have 2 holes on this side 2 holes on that side. The side panels that we already installed are pre-threaded, so when we go to install this, it's going to be pretty easy. But just like before, we're going to attach the centerpiece to only one side, and then we'll put both of them together once they're in the 4Runner. Taking a closer look at this might be the new design from CaliRaised. The old one was not slotted. It just had a hole which required you to put this into the 4Runner in 2 separate pieces. But now with this being slotted, we might be able to start all the bolts right here outside of the truck, push everything together so it's at its smallest length, and then put it into the 4Runner, and then we could open it up and then get these side bolts started. So we're going to try that and see if it works. Taking it back apart, well, now you know. Don't try to put it in as one piece. So before we go ahead and pick this up and put it in there, it does need to go in a certain orientation. If you look at the side where these 2 mounting holes are, you can see this side, there is a very small gap here versus this side, it's a lot bigger. We have it currently backwards. This smaller side is going to be going towards the back of the 4Runner. This is going to be going towards the front of the 4Runner, so we're going to spin this thing around and get it in. So let's take one side. This is going on this side. I'm probably going to have to hop up in here and have this thing sit on my lap while I try to get these 2 screws started. All right, got 2 started. Now you can just let it kind of rest there lightly. We'll get the other side in. So we have both sides started. Now I just put them together, brought them up. This centerpiece that holds the pieces together, you can slide that until you have your holes lined up. We'll get that started. I'll get these front ones started. I have all of these just started, and then we can push it up in place and get it tightened down. All right, so we got all the bolts tightened up here on this lower rack, and that's pretty much going to conclude the installation here of this full CaliRaised LED rear Molle system. All right, so that's gonna wrap up the install on the CaliRaised LED Molle panels and cargo shelves. It's up to you if you wanna get just the side panels, or you can get the whole kit if you want. But hopefully that video helped you guys when it comes to learning how to install this onto your 4Runner. But like I mentioned, this is a great mod to add to your 4Runner if you're looking for some organization in the back. There's plenty of room here for storage, plenty of room for Molle bags. These shelves here, they have a lot of holes on the outside edge, so you can put bungee cords across them to hold different things in place. And this shelf is actually pretty sturdy and it can hold a lot of weight. I wouldn't put so much weight on the top, but again, it's still a sturdy shelf. And there is plenty of room now to organize everything we need in a manner that we want. So if you guys want to pick up these rear Molle panels or the cargo shelves to go along with it, you can head over to YotaXpedition.com. We have everything else from CaliRaised as well. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.